4000 BC, the Mesopotamians created ziggurats, pyramid-like towers that contained the 7 terraces: the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. They observed groups of stars that changed with seasons. They also created the 12 constellational zodiacs.
4000 BC, the Egyptians developed a calendar that predicted the Nile's floods, used astronomical methods to align their buildings. These buildings were aligned with the cardinal points north, south, east, and west.
3100 BC. The sun rose at the end of the main axis of the Stonehenge. It contained 12 major solar and lunar events, with astronomical alignments among 165 points, associated purely with the sun and moon. Eclipses could be predicted by moving stones around a circle of the Aubrey holes.
1200 BC, the Chinese made observations of eclipses and comets. The Chinese also made observational records which enabled their astronomers to determine accurately to the length of a year. Another thing they discovered was determining and using eclipse cycles.
From 630 BC to 501 BC, Thales was the first Greek to use the Little Dipper as a navigational aid. Thales was also able to measure the height of pyramids by using its shadow and claimed to discover solar eclipses, which is still debatable today.
570 to 945 BC. Pythagoras made important developments in mathematics, astronomy, and theory of music, and he invented the Pythagorean theorem.
1894 BC, the Babylonians were a special group of scribes who observed the movements of the stars and planets. They observed about daily, monthly, and yearly positions of the stars and planets. The Babylonians also advised of bad omens to the king of future events through their observations.
384 to 322 BC, Aristotle argued that all celestial motions must be circular. He developed the 4 elements known today as earth, air, fire, and water, and concluded that earth was motionless at the center of the universe.
310 to 230 BC. Aristarchus applied geometry to the study of astronomy. He tried to calculate the distance of the moon and prove that the sun was at the center of the universe.
276 to 195 BC, Eratosthenes used geometry to calculate the size of Earth. He found the difference in altitude of the noonday sun at Cyrene and Alexandria and realized the same difference in latitude of the 2 cities. He then used this and found the ratio of the circumference of Earth.
134 BC, Hipparchus made the earliest systematic catalog of brighter stars. He estimated that precision shifts the vernal equinox by 1 degree every 78 years and 306 degrees in 28,000 years.
0 to 1000 AD. Caracal aligned to sunrises, sunsets, equinoxes, and solstices. Venus was identified with several important Mayan gods. Events were planned with Venus's positions. The Mayan calendar kept track of the sun and the moon, along with the rising and setting of Venus.
127 to 151, Ptolemy had a completion of systems that could account for the motions of planets.
600 AD, the Arabs and Muslims named the stars Betelgeuse, Altair, and Aldebaran. They were the most accurate of ancients, and they wished to verify a net challenge.
1473 to 1543, Copernicus proposed the first fully developed heliocentric model of the solar system. Copernicus also didn't agree with the Ptolemaic model. He also put the sun at the center of the universe.
1500 AD. Bray was the first one to describe a nova, and he took regular observations every day, and he was the most accurate of those before him, and he discovered stellar parallaxes.
1564 through 1642, Galileo made a telescope to look at the stars. He found that the moon has mountains, valleys, and plains the same as the sun, and also found that Jupiter has satellites that orbit like the Earth.
Kepler, 1571 to 1630. Kepler created the laws of planetary motion. First law of planets, planets move in an elliptical orbit. The second law of planets, planets move so that the imaginary line between the planet and the sun is equal. Newton, 1665. Newton created the laws of motion. These laws were the law of inertia, law of force, and the law of action and reaction. Edmund Halley, 1656 to 1742. Edmund Halley predicted the internet orbit of the Halley's Comet, published a synopsis of the astronomy of comets in 1705, and devised a method of observing transits of Venus across the disk of the Sun in order to determine the distance of Earth from the Sun. Einstein, 1879 to 1955. Einstein developed the general theory of relativity. Einstein also created the mass-to-energy equivalence formula. He discovered the photoelectric effect. Einstein also sent a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt that warned him of the potential development of extremely powerful bombs, which led to the Manhattan Project. Niels Bohr, 1885 to 1962. Bohr developed the Bohr's model of the atom. He made foundational contributions to understanding atomic structure and quantum theory. Bohr was also a part of the British mission to the Manhattan Project. Wolfgang Pauli, 1900s to 1958. Wolfgang Pauli was one of the pioneers of quantum physics. Wolfgang also discovered the new law called the Pauli principle. Werner Heisenberg, 1901 to 1976. Heisenberg was one of the key pioneers of quantum mechanics. He also published his uncertainty principle. Heisenberg also made important contributions to the theories of hydrodynamics, of turbulent flows, the atomic nucleus, ferromagnetism, cosmic rays, and subatomic particles. Edwin Hubble, 1889 to 1953. Hubble played a crucial role in establishing the field of extragalactic astronomy. He was known for showing the recessional velocity of a galaxy increases with its distance from Earth, implying the universe is expanding, which is known as Hubble's laws. The Hubble Space Telescope was also named after him. George Leomartre, 1894 to 1966. Leomartre proposed the theory of the expanding universe. He was also the first to arrive at what is now known as Hubble's law and made the first estimation of what is now known as the Hubble constant. He also proposed what is now known by the Big Bang theory as the origin of the universe. Robert Oppenheimer is known as the father of the atomic bomb for his role in the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer also made important contributions to the modern theory of neutron stars and black holes, as well as quantum mechanics, quantum field theory, and the interactions of cosmic rays. Fred Hoyle, 1915 to 2001. Hoyle was noted primarily for the theory of stellar nucleosynthesis. Hoyle also rejected the Big Bang theory and promoted that panspermia as the origin of life on Earth. Penzias and Wilson, 1964. Penzias and Wilson accidentally discovered cosmic microwave background radiation. Armstrong and Aldrin, 1964. Pilot Buzz Aldrin and mission commander Neil Armstrong were the astronauts of the Apollo 11 that landed on the moon. They were the first humans on the moon, and Armstrong took the first steps, and with his famous words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."